breathe. Welcome to Enigma Media.
What up, headbangers? How you doing? I'm Robb, and today we're chilling with Corey of Valkyrie AD out of New York. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just, enjoying my life, enjoying the day. Why don't you introduce yourself and basically how you started the project?
Sure. So I'm the aforementioned Corey, and Valkyrie AD is a bit of a long time pipe dream, passion project of mine that for one reason or another, maybe one excuse or another, has just kind of led into eventually becoming a solo project. But yeah, in the end of 2018, I basically just kind of got to the point where I was tired of waiting for band members. And so I ended up finding a guy locally who had a little home studio. Met up with him, we hit it off almost immediately. And so we recorded what ended up being my first release, just a 4-song EP, Tales from the Wicked. And that ended up coming out in March of 2019. And then in late summer, I ended up actually finding a second guitarist locally, and we started playing and getting a pretty good sound. We had the same interest in mind of playing live, so that's kind of what we were working towards. And then obviously the world ended. But I still wanted to try to keep some of the momentum that I had. So in August of 2020, I ended up recording everything at home and putting out a second release, another 5-song EP, and that ended up being Vile. And used the same guy to mix and master that one. And then now I'm currently mixing what's going to be my third release, which it's going to be just a single, but the song is clocks in right at 12 minutes long. So I don't think I really need to put anything else with it. Just kind of leave it at one song. But
right.
Yeah, it might be a little pretentious. I don't know, but it's just kind of something I just kept doing. So
no, that's the thing about Vile. Like, I listened to it from front to back, and I mean, I don't think you really notice the transition between the songs. It's so well written. You know what I mean? Like, It flows so effortlessly that you actually have to look down and be like, whoa, oh, it's the second song, third song. So I could see you being able to pull off a 12-minute without even any hesitation of being able to listen to the full thing without noticing it being one song. So that's easy peasy in my mind for you, because definitely skilled. Do you play the drums and everything, or do you program them?
So the drums, I do use Easy Drummer virtual instruments and do like all the MIDI mapping. I feel like in the first 2 releases, I feel it's pretty easy, especially if you are a drummer. You can kind of tell that there's a lot of like copy and pasting being done. So for this new one, I did try to spend a lot more time on the drums, maybe a little bit more progressive stuff. So I hope that kind of comes through. That's definitely refreshing to hear that, because one of the things that I've always been kind of most concerned about as being a solo artist is that, if it's one person that's doing all the writing and the playing and the recording, then it's going to always be one set of influences and one set of hands and one set of everything. So, always afraid of the sound just kind of becoming stale, just being the same thing over again. So I feel like that was another approach to what this new song is going to be, is trying to just try as much new stuff as I can. So I think it's definitely nice to hear from you to say that it's not as much of a worry as I thought it was.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that, even like closing my eyes and listening to it, the vibe I get is like Early in Flames and Dark Tranquility. So for me, that type of metal is easy to sell. You know what I mean? It's got soul behind it and the melody, and it's almost got like a European culture, even though you're not from Europe, you know what I mean? So it's kind of cool to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, no, I definitely do have. I feel like I would have probably been a lot better off to like be from Sweden. That probably would have helped a lot of
Right.
my issues. But no, and you know, another thing, I've never really been one to subscribe to subgenres. So, you know, and one of the things in trying to find members, you know, at least in the scene here, or I'm actually originally from Texas, trying to find people there. It was always, you know, oh, here's Valkyrie AD. It's melodic death metal, and people would say, oh, it's not death metal enough. Okay, so it's thrash metal. Well, it's not fast enough. So I don't know.
The classification. Yeah, it's music. I hate that. That drives me nuts about it. Do I hate the whole subgenre thing? Like our band, I have no clue how to fucking classify us.
Yeah, to me, it's to me, it's metal, and the subgenre is just the band name. That's all you gotta know.
Yeah. No, and it is like I did a 16 song solo EP or like solo CD a few years back, and I found that for me, it was hard not to overdo it. Being the only person who's got their hands in it, you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, I've got like 3 guitar rhythms going in, like synthesizers, and it's like, how the fuck am I ever gonna find a band to play this? So I think that was my most difficult thing with being a solo artist. I kind of got over that, and then got into production, just producing beats and stuff, because I felt like I had more freedom that way. But I miss the whole writing as a band. Like, I love that. I definitely found that I would overdo it with my harmonies and my vocals, or I wouldn't do full takes. Like, I wouldn't record A to B to Z in my song. I would do takes in certain parts. So trying to actually perform it, I noticed I couldn't do it breath-wise. Like, I didn't have the breaths that I needed in between. Even with this band, I did that at first, and now I realize, like, you got to do it A to Z. You have to do your full takes as a singer, at least, because you can really tell on stage who doesn't practice their shit or didn't write it to be performed.
Yeah, for sure. There, I mean, especially now, you know, with home recording in the digital age, it's very easy to just, I'll record 2 seconds at a time and clip it all together. And who will ever know? Well, when you try to emulate that live, everyone's going to know. And I get what you're saying too about being able to kind of work with people. For this new release, you know, that second guitarist and I have stayed in contact, and he's still interested in the project. So he's actually, there's a middle section of this song, and he's going to put his own little lead part. So I'm really excited to hear how that comes out. Because for me, Valkyrie has always been envisioned as being a band, and that's why there is so much melody, as I've kind of always wanted there to be, you know, someone else.
And I mean, sometimes you have to just put the foundation out there. You know, like, you'll find people who I really dig your shit, and they're going to want to join you, and you won't really have to find you're looking as much. I think it's just getting out there. And I definitely think that it's a lot harder for us nowadays to market and get out there. It's more becoming like a business, which sucks for musicians, because, like, we don't make money off our music. We make money off touring, which we don't get paid guarantees. You know what I mean? Like, we get a door if we're lucky. And you got to split that with all the other bands. So
a beer.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things that go into doing this dream that I don't think a lot of people understand, especially as a solo artist. It's very personal. You know, it's not 5 guys putting something in. It's you putting in everything. So if somebody does criticize it, it kind of does hurt 10 times more. And I definitely felt that when I put out my music. I felt more self-conscious about it because it was just me, and I didn't have that backing of a band.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a weird concept, because, I mean, musicians are usually pretty down to earth and humble, but at the same time, like, have that mild touch of ego that pushes them, you know? So I think that it's a good thing to have. But at the same time, in an industry right now where we have no clue what's about to happen, it's really hard to plan for anything.
Yeah. And, you know, there's certainly pros and cons to it. I mean, you know, one of the biggest pros is I don't have to coordinate rehearsal with anybody. When I'm ready to play, I just go play. But probably the biggest con is, you know, I don't have anybody to split any cost with. Because, you know, my biggest thing is, I'm very heavily influenced by horror.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I would really like to get into next, because for me, I would like to be a part of the horror community just as much as I'd like to be a part of the metal community.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I would like to do with Valkyrie to try to, separate myself or kind of stand above the rest, however you want to say it, is to start really getting into like, video production and actually doing like a storyboard for each video and actually having like kind of a narrative to the video. And, it's easier to kind of do a DIY album at home, and, a low budget album can still be passable, but low budget videos suck.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you really got to pump a lot of money into.
Yeah, and COVID has made. I think COVID's brought down the quality aspect of videos over the past year, because
Yeah, probably.
like I shared with my band today a video of a dude who's literally just sitting in his living or his bedroom in front of his laptop with some like LED flashing lights behind him, and that's his video. And I'm like, all right, well, if that's our competition, boys, like we can just fucking piss in the wind at this point.
Right,
So, like,
right,
shit.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a weird industry right now. It's not what it was 10 years ago, and it's weird to see how fast it's changed due to. I like to say it's due to social media and the upcoming and uprise of the EDM world. It definitely took over a lot of. Basically, it adapted into every music genre. You know what I mean? And at that point, more people wanted to go to a rave than they did want to go to a live show, even if it took them 3 hours to drive out and they had to pay more. So I think the appreciation for live music has slowly died over the past 10 years.
No, I think that's very fair to say. And that's another part of, kind of speaking back to the horror stuff is, I've always envisioned including a lot of like theatrics, just having stage props and dressings and, other things going on, especially with being a solo artist, because I still really want to play live, without a band. And, so to say, if I were to kind of go the black metal route and it just be myself with a backing track, that'd be a pretty lame show. So you kind of need something to divert from it just being me.
Even if you could figure out how to like loop certain parts and then just like move to the different elements, like it'd be really cool, like to be able to like loop your drums, but that'd be damn near impossible with metal. And like with hip hop, it's a lot easier, like with a basic pop song. So, but I think it'd be doable for sure if I mean the technology's there. So I definitely think looping and delay are very essential for if you to play with a backing track, because you can make it seem less boring than it's just a person with a guitar and a backing track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is. I've seen a lot of single band or like one man bands and two pieces that can pull it off. So, it is definitely unique when you find people who can do it, because live is a totally different monster than performing in a studio.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to be very different once shows start back up. I've watched all the interviews you've had, and I think it was maybe the Fifth Circle that you had on. And I mean, I think they hit it right on the head when they said that, when shows start again, there's going to probably be not near the crowd and engagement as there was. Everybody wants to get back to shows, but it's probably so that they can stand in the corner with their arms crossed, which, I've been just as guilty of. But, coming back, I think probably a lot of performing artists are going to need more than just, playing your album, just not as tight.
Yeah, I definitely think that there needs to be a shift in the industry, at least more the industry that we have, like our independent abilities. I think that bands are too easy just to try and take the easy route. And I think that we need to, like, you're not going to ever get big unless you kind of put in the work. It just doesn't come overnight unless you're a TikTok star, but then you last for a week, a month, right?
Yeah, you'll always get outplayed by someone else.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, you have to, and at least in our industry with metal, it's progressed so much to a point where you have so many different genres and bands, and there is a big community, but I feel like it's so spread apart, and it used to be really tight. So I think after COVID, everyone will like consciously feel that they need to work together because it's not going to happen on its own.
No, I really hope so. I really hope that if there is one thing we're able to learn from all of this, it's how fragile we are as, artists. It really, it really only took a little germ getting on an airplane to kind of shut us all down. I mean, quite literally shut us all down. So I don't feel like there's any excuse why we can't all have more of the community that it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird to think that I keep like bringing it up. It's like other art forms get paid what they're worth, except for musicians. Like you look at tattoo artists, they get paid fucking so much, and that wasn't really an accepted culture up until 10, 15 years ago. It was really underground. Most tattoo artists and stuff didn't have TV shows or magazines, and it's weird to think that in the short time that it took for tattoo artists to become a global phenomenon, that musicians still haven't been paid properly.
No, I think that's true. And, getting back into the social media stuff, I mean, social media, has helped a lot of people, but it's just so much of a hindrance, and I'll admit that my social media presence is very small, and that's just because if all I have to post right now are just pictures of me in my bedroom studio, which is the same thing that every other artist in the world has to post, like there's nothing to really kind of make me stand out, and so I feel like for a lot of us, no matter how big and aggressive your social media platform is, it's still almost next to nothing if we're all just posting the same things. Or now everyone's.
How organic is it? You made organic likes. Yeah. How many of those people are going to come to your show? How many of those people are buying your merch? Like, somebody had a conversation with somebody today who made a hell of a point to me where he's not even a musician. He's like a business advisor. So it was like, he gave me, like, he said, you don't need 1 million fans. You need 1,000 dedicated fans, because if those 1,000 are willing to pay $100 to see your tickets, to buy your shirts, to buy your merch, you got $100,000 a year lifestyle. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you break it down to that simple, I think bands need to stop worrying about their social media presence at that point, because realistically, what does it mean? Like, you have more likes on Facebook, but is your music good? Because I hate the concept that the quality of music is determined off of the amount of social media presence you have. Because realistically, like, you can pay for those likes. It doesn't cost a lot to get Facebook likes.
Right. Yeah, you can pay for robo followers. It doesn't mean anything.
So it's weird that that's how our industry is based off of how popular you are on websites, not how talented your music is.
Yeah, and I know one of the questions you ask everybody, so sorry to get ahead, but
no, it's all good, bro.
To try to change something of the industry, I think it is that, I don't know, just building that sense of community. Because when I first put out Tales from the Wicked and I start putting it on different forums, trying to submit it to different places, I found out very quickly that the vast majority of the world doesn't give a shit about your passion project, and that's because they have their own that they're trying to make work, and there's just so much unnecessary competition. And you would post something and just say, hey, look and listen, feedback, whatever, and the replies would be, oh, I'll listen to your stuff if you listen to mine, but only if you agree to comment, and then if you follow and like reshare this link. It's like, you never even heard what I put out though, because you're just worried about what the
you
appearance
get out of
is.
it. Yeah. No, I definitely I hate that mentality. Even the rock star mentality of we need to be famous, and no, I think most musicians have come to realize, especially emerging artists, that it doesn't. You don't need to be Gojira level. You know, you need
Yeah.
to be. You need to just make a decent living, like live comfortable. And once you're happy with that, I mean, like it's just laws of attraction. You kind of you got to bring it in. You can't just expect it. You kind of got to work towards it, which sucks. But at the same time, it's so much more worth it. I know if I was given everything, I'd hate myself because I'd be so bored. Like
Yeah.
I spend like 16 hours a day doing this, from emails to promotion to finding new bands, and I'm like, no day is boring. I just wake up and I start going hard. So it's when you really love something, it's not a job. And I mean, I kind of got that growing up until it fully hit me like this year. And I think that COVID was a blessing for that because, I mean, if I was still building houses, I'd just be doing the same old thing instead of
Yeah.
trying to build something that's, I don't know. I'd rather build a community than build $1 million house for somebody who's gonna not live there. You know what I mean? For me,
Yeah.
it's I feel like I have more purpose than that, and I think that all musicians do have a purpose, and I think that got overlooked at some point because like music was so embraced and part of our culture over the past 100 years, and within the past 10, it disappeared. So, I mean, that the last 100 years alone, we've had music in our culture since we left Africa. So, it's just a weird, like before we even have culture, like we
Yeah.
before like Sumeria, we had drums. So it's weird to think that it's just so overlooked now, and like
Well, and it's not like a, like a respected art, so to speak. Like I remember,
yeah,
being in high school and, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I'd really like to, find success in my musician. No, but what do you want to do as a job?
yeah. What do you want to do
Fuck,
for a job?
I thought I just told you. So I don't, you tell me.
Yeah, that was always I hated that question and response.
Yeah.
It drove me nuts. Like, okay, so you can laugh at me because I want to be a musician, but the fucking guy over here says he's gonna go fly into space. You believe his
Yeah.
asshole? Like he's
Yeah.
probably gonna become a drunk. Like, no, it doesn't come out like that. I think it. I don't think like that question's fair to kids either. You know what I mean? Like, what kid knows what the hell they're gonna be? I'm 30 years old. Took me until this year to realize what I want to be.
Yeah. I still don't know.
You know, it's I don't know, especially in a world that's changing so fast and creating new jobs and new industries. I think like there's going to be a huge division in the music industry where there's going to be that pop electronic country aspect that makes millions of dollars to selling to people who would eat a potato if you told them it was an apple. And then you're going to have the market that is genuine musicians and music lovers. And I think that will slowly build that independence where we have our own industry and there'll be two music industries versus one elite, like an elitist sense. And then these like funneled little variations of independent record labels that are trying to help, you know? So,
Yeah. I mean, I certainly hope so because, a lot of that division we've kind of created and so I'd like to see it kind of get away from that. And, I feel like even, even now with, like I was saying before with like home recording technology being what it is, it's really time for the labels to realize that they need us more than we need them. And I feel like if we were to try to become a community and try to, be more embracing of the actual process of being creators, and if the likes come along, that's just kind of an added bonus. But, I mean, full disclosure to everybody that's listening to this, I mean, I reached out to you. I asked to be on your show.
Yeah. And I got the email and like, it's been so crazy how many we've gotten. And I've actually even asked Norm to like, can you start helping me email people? Cause I can't get back and I feel really bad. So
yeah, no,
he's taking care of a lot of emails too lately. So it's just, yeah, it's you have to reach out to anybody
Yeah.
in this point. You know what I mean? Like I've
No.
reached out to many random places that I never thought would even be considered good for marketing for our band, and it worked. So it's weird. We're definitely trying to float in this weird ocean of flooded band market industry that is slowly dying over the
Yeah.
past year. So I think it's
Well,
our time to shine.
I think so. Yeah. And I think what's, what I like most about you guys with Enigma versus anyone else that I've tried reaching out to is when I have reached out to you, you didn't respond by asking me to, oh, include your Instagram link and how many followers you have.
Mhm.
Like, and that shit doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no.
And
we listen to the music. If we genuinely as musicians are like, damn, these guys are good, or like we see the passion and like how hard they're working, like we don't really care about how the quality of recording, if it's not top tier, like that shit doesn't phase us at all, because we see, I don't know, I have a really diverse music taste. Like
Yeah.
one of my favorite bands is Modest Mouse, and
Oh,
then you go to Radiohead, and then you go to metal. So like for me, it's easier for me to be able to judge music, I guess. I hate saying judge music, but I definitely am more in tune with finding the uniqueness in a band versus just overlooking it. And I think that a lot of the bands that we've done so far, like you look at Thank You Driver, and like their episode, I don't know if it's dropped yet, I can't remember, but like they have 100 likes on their Facebook, and you listen to the recordings and you can tell that they're a new band, but you listen to the music and you're like, these guys have it. Like they have what it takes. Like you hear if they got into a studio and got better recording, everyone's perspective would change. And I hate that that's what's judging how many likes they have, you know what I mean, kind of a thing. So yeah, that shit doesn't phase me at all, because I don't know, I've had my own pages that have 100 likes, but I'm still touring with big ass artists. So I've realized a long time ago that Facebook doesn't really mean a thing in the music industry. It just sucks that it's become such a key part of society and how everything is promoted is done through social media. And I think that's what has really divided the world, because it's created so many, like it's created a lot of that division. Like even with metal, like we have the subgenres, you know what I mean? And I think the whole concept of, I don't want to say it's like freedom of speech, because everyone deserves their freedom of speech, but I mean, not everyone's opinion really matters in my mind. Like unless it's a valid opinion and it actually like a genuine, good, logical thought. Like, yeah, anyone can have an opinion, but it doesn't really matter. No. For me, and I think that that's kind of what people take for granted on social media.
Yeah.
Is they think that just because they have a social media that they're, whatever they say is what goes or what matters. And when it comes to bands, like, yeah, I can see that with people, but when it comes to bands, that's not how bands work. That's not how music works. So when you're trying to compete in an industry that's popularity, and you're using these platforms as a way to spread your music, but the platform itself isn't based around that, it's based around popularity, it kind of dilutes, I guess. Not really, I don't know what the word is, that it just kind of like, it puts in this whole stigma that we have to be popular, even though that's not what it's about. It's just we go to these platforms to extend it out to people.
Yeah.
And I think that people think that like, oh, they have 100 followers on Instagram, they're not good. Oh no, it's just maybe we aren't good at marketing on Instagram, or maybe we're not really spending full time on it. Those kind of things don't matter to a band, you know. We're worried about booking. We're worried about, oh fuck, my amp's not working, I'm gonna buy a new amp. Like we got more important things than to worry about.
Well, and I think talking to about, I think talking to about, getting wrapped up in kind of your platform on the different social media, whatever, one, it's next to impossible to keep up with that, because as soon as you get one, they're just going to release the next one. It's like, oh, I finally have Facebook. Oh, what is Instagram? Oh,
now there's TikTok.
Vines were a thing for like a week, and then TikToks came along, and like, what's next after that? Who knows? Like, so I can't really there's no sense in trying to master anything.
Yeah, that's why I think I keep talking to, like, bringing up the topic of like we need to find just somebody who's really good with computer skills that's in the music industry, like is a musician themselves, and just create a new platform. Like you see all these new, specifically for musicians. So like, yo, you guys want to check out the newest bands? This is where you want to do it. It's not Spotify. Like they genuinely pay the artist kind of a thing. I definitely think it just needs to be like build that community to the point where we finally reach that person who's like, you know what? No, I'm going to do this. Cause I think that's what it is. It always takes that one person. And I think a lot of people forget that it just takes one person to create a movement, to create change.
Kind of like Enigma Media, right?
Yeah, right. Well, there's three of us technically. I'm the one who you see the most because I got the gear. One of our members is actually in Nottingham. He's in the UK. Yeah, he's it's based. We started it with my bass player Norman, and then Dale he believed in it so much that he's like, no, like I'm going to invest and help you guys and do what I can. So he's basically like the third partner, but no one will see him until he gets his gear. But no, I feel like there's a ton of people who do what we do, just not. I think more people focus on the typical conversations with bands, and I don't think a lot of people understand the political aspect behind it, or the controversy that actually happens behind the scenes in music. Like, yeah, promoters not paying bands. You know what I mean? They're raking in $2,000 a night, and they won't even pay a band $20. Like. Right. These are things that need to be talked about. And I don't think, unless you're a musician, like you're not going to ever know about it. You look at a band and you're like, oh shit, they're making tons of money that night. No, we're not. You know, like I physically had to pay bands $500 out of my pocket because no one showed up to a show that I booked. So it's not like we do it and it's fun constantly. We do it. It's a struggle and we still do it. And I don't think people realize how tough we are. Like, within the first year of being a band, most people would quit because it's so difficult. And then you look at bands who are 12 years into the game and they're still struggling, but they're still doing it. Those are the ones that are going to last, even through COVID, through whatever COVID brings. Those are the ones that the labels will be looking for, not the people who sat around making videos all the time or weird content, but not focusing on music. And I think COVID really determined who was in it for the long run versus who was in it for the show.
Yeah, probably.
And I definitely am thankful because they're not going to be able to keep up. They're not going to be able to keep up with the bands that were focused on writing albums and focused on putting out music videos and merch. And yeah, we struggled, but nothing good comes for free. Like you got to struggle. You appreciate it more.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was kind of funny, like last summer and through the fall, like, it was always big news when it was like, oh, so and such band is entering into the studio. It's like, what the hell else are they doing? Like, this is what, like, why is that such explosive? Like, these artists are working on their art. Like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
That's what we should be doing.
That's why, like I said, that's why Vile happened the way it did. Is it was like, well, I'm not doing anything else, and I'm not gonna just sit on these songs and wait to do it with people again. So no, on the EP we're about to release, like we're so close to doing it. We're just in the midst of dealing with some stuff, and like I had mental breakdown last year. I'll genuinely openly admit it. Like I had mental breakdown, and this album is like 90% of it is me releasing my pent up energy over the past year, and then putting a story on top of that. So like there's like always a message for me, a message for the listener, and then a message for the musician in my lyrics. So it's funny how trauma and I don't know, I think just like the amount of stress that people dealt with last year has led to a ton of good writing, and it made you just stop altogether. Like it was either you really had to determine what you loved about it, because at this point it's no one's making money, no one's doing what they genuinely love. They're waiting to do what they love, which is most people love performing. They love recording, but I mean performing is what we do it for. That's where the euphoria comes from, is being on stage. I mean, that speaks probably a little bit to that ego piece.
Yeah, and it's not even necessary. Like I don't like being the the center of attention. But when I'm on stage, like when the lights are hitting you and you can only see like the first 10 faces, and then after that's just a blur, it's like it doesn't even become how many people are there an ego. It's just like you, the lights, and the music. And it's so weird. I like when I was doing hip hop, it was definitely ego. Like I was 100%, 110% ego. So I think like getting out of the hip hop kind of humbled me down. But even now, like as a singer, you got to kind of present yourself as a certain thing on stage, right? So this is me. I'm pretty chill, relaxed, and then you see me on stage, and I'm like, get the fuck up here. So like I'm like Scorpion, like get over here. So it makes me laugh because every band is like that. You know what I mean? Like especially metal bands, we're all so chill and down to earth. And I think it's because most metalheads are the outcasts, like the people who are picked on, people who had low self-esteem. They found a family in music, and that music kind of turned into an actual family when they met other people like them. So we do have that community. It's just I don't know what caused it to divide, because it does have a division with, oh, that's not this genre, that's not this genre. Like that shit doesn't matter. Like I hate that so much. Like who cares what fucking genre it is? That's like, it's just like same with like people who complain about genders and how many there are. It's like it doesn't matter. Like just fucking get over it. It is what it is, you know? Just be happy and enjoy the music, enjoy life. So I think that whole mentality is all over the world.
No, for sure.
In everything. And I don't know how it got there. I really think it's social media and not the freedom of speech, but the freedom of speech. The freedom of uncensored speech. You know what I mean? Like you can say whatever the fuck you want on social media and no one's gonna like, there's always gonna be somebody who's gonna agree with you. You know, like the sky's green. Oh dude, totally. You're always gonna find that person. So even in music, it's there. It's still there. You find your trolls. Like it's just weird. It's a weird world. But how that became like the structure of how we live our lives now is judging people so hard.
You know, I don't know so much, you know, about like internationally, but you know, at least here in the States, like all that shit starts like when you're going to school and you know, you're just competing with your classmates over what grades you make. And then I feel like now social media has just
amplified
exploded that, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
especially with the younger generation,
because now
like they don't even know what life is without it.
And I feel like, you know, I've talked with some younger bands. I mean, I guess I'm a young band, but I'm not a young artist, maybe, if that makes sense. But
no,
talking with some of the, you know, the other younger bands, I feel like they almost think that, oh, if I follow this guy on Instagram and then I see that because of that 10 more people follow him that didn't follow me, I'm losing. It's like there's no validation there. It's just a number on a screen that most people don't look at
or even really care about. Like, yeah, I know. And it's you're never going to compete with those girls in bikinis on Instagram, guys. Sorry. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm getting there. Speak for yourself.
Right. I started wearing bikinis in my own videos. No, it's just weird how how that's become the structure and how labels totally just sucked it up, you know, like through a straw. They're like, oh yeah, okay, this is what consumer wants. Well, I don't really think those are the consumers. You know what I mean? Like the consumers are the people buying the shirts, buying the CDs, buying the tickets, not the people on Instagram, not the people on TikTok, not the people on Facebook. So you're not really appealing to the proper people being on a social media. And I mean, how else are you supposed to market otherwise? So it is really like catch-22 at that point. There's nowhere for us to go and we don't really need it, but we need it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it really sucks. And that's what I think that where we try to like eventually want to push towards getting out there. It would be nice to get this out to one person who just can like make it hit like wildfire and people see it, so that people understand the struggle we have, because it's not an easy lifestyle. It's definitely you work 3 job kind of a thing, your band, your real job, and then your life. And your life usually takes the back seat when you're a musician. You don't really get that relaxed time, especially if you're not dedicated. Like if you're dedicated to it, you're spending the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, basically focused on doing it. And whether it's writing, whether it's coming up with new ideas, whether it's just sharing your shit on Facebook, you know. And it sucks that that's all we have, because I feel like magazines should be more willing to embrace younger or emerging bands instead of just focusing on all these like Five Finger Death Punch and all these same old five fucking bands, because who really cares about those guys? Like,
yeah, because the truth is, you know, the more, you know, the less willing we are to support the up and coming new guy, the less likely there's ever going to be an up and coming new guy.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just feel like I get what you're saying about, you know, it being a business and working on it. But even with that, you know, there's still so much on social media. There's still so much of the focus on projecting the grind and you know, the hustle and whatever you want to call it. And there's it just feels like we're ignoring the actual process a lot of times. And I feel like, you know, with, like I was saying, with this new release, with it being as long as it is, and with me trying to do all of it myself, you know, the recording, the mixing and everything, like it's really allowed me to start to appreciate the fact that, like, holy shit, I'm creating this.
Mm-hmm.
Like if 1,000 people like it, great. If one person like it, who is preferably not a blood relative, that's also great. But it doesn't change the fact that I still made it. And I feel like that's always the part that gets skimmed over the most. And I feel like we're just kind of continually underselling ourselves as musicians and underappreciating ourselves as creators. To just, like, yes, I understand it's a business. You do have to market, but your marketing shouldn't be the marketing. Does that make sense?
It shouldn't be the only focus.
Right.
It shouldn't have to be the only focus. 100%. Like, you shouldn't have to just worry about selling your product and never being able to build your product.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's like, yeah, that's where I keep going back to, like, we're the only art that doesn't really get appreciated, because, like, you look at artists who can sell a painting for $15,000 of some color splattered onto a fucking white canvas. And I'm like, yeah, like, maybe I don't appreciate that art, but, like, I know my girlfriend does some fucking epic paintings, you know what I mean? But she's like, people, like, it's just, artists get paid. Painting artists can get paid for what they're worth. Tattoo artists definitely get paid for what they're worth. Some get overpaid for what they do, and some are underpaid for how talented they are, you know what I mean? But they still get paid what they're worth. And then you go to every other art form, like even skateboarding gets paid more. You know, if you're signed and doing it professionally, you're still making tons of money. It's a sport, I get that, but it's also an art form. So it's just weird to see that music is used in everything, like from commercials to radio to what people have on the background at work, but no one appreciates the amount of time and effort it goes into it as an artist. Because nowadays we're being fed one dude who makes the electronic song, and then somebody who paid him for it, and she sings on top of it, or he sings on top of it, and then all of a sudden it's a hit song. And there's not a single instrument. Yeah, right? There's no physical instrument. And I'm like, it's weird to think that kids growing up nowadays don't even know what a band is.
Right.
You know
I don't
what I
know
mean?
what acoustic drums sound like.
No, like, they quite literally are like babies and stuff are being raised on, like, pop music and electronic music. They don't know what music is. Like, that's not music. That's programmed sounds. And I produce EDM. I enjoy doing it, but as a person who plays 13 instruments, I also look at it and laugh, like, this takes no fucking talent. The production aspect doesn't. The mixing, mastering does. But I mean, like, putting a couple drums together, some bass lines and some wobbles, and making catchy rhythm with, like, a fucking YouTube skit that you took that's really popular. It doesn't really take talent. That just takes a quick minute of idea. Writing a 12-minute song takes skill. You can't just play the same rhythm for 12 minutes without people wanting to stab you in the face. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to understand music. And I think that most people don't realize how much theory metalheads know and how much time it takes to actually learn that theory. Like, I would love to just see like a YouTube channel be like, can you play this? And just give a guitar to some random person who thinks they can play guitar and be like, give them the most intense fucking song from like Yngwie Malmsteen or something and just be like, play this. And just like, you know, they look at it a lot more with more appreciation instead of like it's Guitar Hero.
Well,
Like,
the excuse is always, oh, that's just noise.
yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, with vocals, like it doesn't matter how profound of a song I could write lyrically. Someone's going to say, you're just screaming. What does that even mean? It's like, sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it means.
It's funny because I feel that exact way about country music. Like, I despise country music with all my soul. I can't stand it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's just something about it that just makes me want to like stab my ears.
Too much tractor sex.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the whininess and like the guys just always like, I don't know. I think what it is, you know, that like Southern American accent that's genuine. When you have like country bands that genuinely have that.
When they need subtitles when they talk.
Yeah, you know, they talk like this, like they sing like that, but then you get a guy from like California who's just doing that accent to write some country to get famous. That's like me putting on a Jamaican accent to write music, like reggae. Like, I would be laughed at, but these guys, it's accepted. So it's like they're not even being true to themselves. They're just making something to sell, and people eat it up like it's fucking food. And I just laugh because I'm like, man, like for a good 6 years of my life, I looked at music like I was ready to give up just because I saw where the industry was going. I'm like, there's no point in continuing, but then they win. So I said, fuck that. But so I'm still here. I'll always be here, but I definitely think that there's going to be that change, but it's weird to plan for something we don't know. Like, none of us predicted COVID. So we had to adapt to it. So we still have to wait to see what it's going to be like. Cause I know statistics in Canada say 20% of people aren't going to go back to shows. And I was like, yeah, and it was like a high number in the 70s said they would prefer to see a concert streamed than live.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That scares the shit out of me, man. Cause like Canada doesn't have a lot of people. Like, not at all. So like, that's a huge impact on the music industry here. Yeah. I can imagine the rest of the world.
It's going to be interesting here, you know, where I live for, you know, a few reasons. Before COVID, the area I live in New York, it's called the Southern Tier. I'm like 2.5 hours northwest of the city. Okay. So I'm kind of like near the Pennsylvania border. But, you know, before everything, all the venues here were just bars, and all they ever cared about trying to book were just like
cover
alternative.
Bands.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. People that, you know, people could come in and get drunk to and have a good time, and not, you know, they don't want someone screaming about spooky stuff in their face like me. So
yeah, and I think that's stupid. Like, I don't understand that concept of, oh yeah, we'll pay you $2,000 for the night to a cover band, but like, oh, the band that wrote all their own music and like drove here for fucking 6 hours, you know what I mean, gets a door.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? Like, oh, that'd be like, I don't know. It's just weird.
But there is supposed to be a pretty big, or at least a decent metal scene, like in the Buffalo, Rochester area, which is about 3 hours northwest of me. And then of course I have New York City. So there are options, but you know, even with, as far as the state of New York goes, you know, whenever COVID first like came, it hit New York City pretty hard. So New York was one of the first states to like fully shut down. And I feel like we're going to be the last state to really open back up again. I mean, our restaurants are all still at capacity, and, you know, we're like not allowed. Like, I feel guilty if I'm within, you know, 6 feet of 4 people, just because that's how it is in the state. So I feel like
you're missing Texas right now, where they're performing already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like here there's, you know, live shows, particularly indoor live shows, will probably be the last thing that comes back. And because of that, there's going to be so many venues that just aren't even going to try, because
they're not going to even want them. They were waiting for something to just like happen, so they didn't have to worry about bands anymore, local bands.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I mean, it sounds shitty, but yeah, I think that's very fair.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about bars. I don't agree with them anymore. I already said to the boys in our band, like, we're not doing bar shows. As soon as shows open back up, where they're doing festivals or we're fucking driving to somewhere, because I'm done doing the bar scene. I hate it. It's so counterproductive. I mean, yeah, you're playing a show, which is sweet, but I mean, most of the time there's so much drama. You get the one drunk guy who wants to come up and tells you to sing fucking Free Bird, and it's just like, fuck out of here, dude. Like, I don't know, it drives me nuts. Or like you get the drunk guy who knocks your microphone into your fucking face, and I think people don't have that respect that if you're on stage to not bother you while you're on stage, which really fucking annoys me.
Most of the people at a bar show aren't there for the show. They're there for the bar. Exactly.
So I definitely think that like we need to, who was it? I think it was the singer of Heaven's Void who I recently interviewed. He said that there needs to be like, people need, how did he say it? Like the bars there, like the scene in general, like in Florida, I think they're from Florida, that people don't want to go to the scene in Florida because the music scene apparently is bad. That's what they hear, like globally, when big bands come through or something like this. Mm. And he was saying like, we just need to like stop worrying about going to band bars. And I think that we definitely need to do renegade shows and like just put shows on that aren't at bars and start getting younger kids back into the music. Because I don't know why bands all of a sudden went from doing all ages shows to all of a sudden just worrying about going to the bar, because you don't make money at a bar. Those people don't give a fuck about buying your merch. You know, like, I don't know. And when I say that, some people look at me like I'm crazy, like, oh, well, that's not cool. Like, you're supposed to appeal to people your age. Well, no, like, Metallica has fans that are 13 years old right now, like, and younger. So, I mean, realistically, music has no age bracket. So why the fuck are we appealing to only a certain bracket around our age that doesn't have money? Because they're there to drink. They're not there to buy shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know when I was a kid going to small local venues and shows, I would show up with $100 that I saved to buy merch because I was dedicated. And I think that there are the younger crowd out there who are dedicated. They just don't have it presented to them. Like, they don't have bands willing to, in their town, do all ages shows because they're scared. And I mean, there is a huge hazard and hassle to it where you have to have security and make sure they're not drinking underage and like things like that, which is, yeah, it sucks. But I mean, like, what do they want more? Do they want to get drunk or do they want to have live music? And they're going to choose live music. You know what I mean? And I mean, especially in BC, we have a huge opioid crisis with fentanyl and everything up here, and they have no venues, and they don't want to give any venues, right? Like, they don't want to give any venues or even open up. Like, we have an outdoor band shell, and you have to ask the city, but the city never allows bands to use it, even though it just sits there being used for nothing. Like, it just literally just sits there and gets graffitied, and like bums and homeless people sit in there instead of being used for local live music. So for me, it's like the cities need to start manning up, you know, and being like, no, we need to support, like, we can bitch and complain about people dying of overdose. Well, you're not giving people anything to do other than go do drugs, go get drunk, go fight with each other over politics. You know, like, you got to be willing to give to get a little bit. And I think that all governments kind of forget that it's for the people. You know, it's not that we're not their servants, they're our servants. And I think that that's a big thing that's happening in all aspects, not just life, but like the big labels. You know what I mean? It's not about them. They don't put out the music. Yeah. They may distribute it, but in a world where we can distribute it ourselves and go to Spotify and say, fuck you, we don't need labels. We don't even need Spotify, really. If we really wanted to market, I mean, you could pay for ads on different websites. You can do so many different schemes to get your music heard to different, like, you know, go to Twitch. You got gamers. Gamers love metal, but we only appeal to a certain demographic, and when that's all we focus on. And I definitely agree with, that's what he was saying. Sorry, I got sidetracked in my thought. He was saying that the demographic of people that, like, we get stuck in this, fuck, I keep losing it, but it's so good how he said it. I have to watch the interview again. He basically is talking about what we appeal to is how we're doing it to ourselves. You know, we're 3 years, that's it. We're 3 years behind on every other genre. like
Okay.
metal itself, we're so deep rooted in our musical culture and how what we think is right and what we think is this is true to metal, true to music. We're 3 years behind. You know what I mean? And every fad, every new change of platform, every little thing, we're always that behind because we're not willing to adapt fully. You know, we're a little bit hesitant always at first in the metal community. And that's a hell of a point that he made because it is true. You need to adapt and way fucking quicker if you want to survive now, or you're gonna sink. Like the music industry is the Titanic at this point, and I don't, for one, want to be the musicians going down playing.
Well, shit. If I sound like early In Flames, then I'm 18 years behind.
No, I mean that's a style of music that's like needs to come back because
Yeah.
like I miss like Colony and shit. Like that is
Yeah.
oh man, Bjorn is like he's such a talented writer, and I think they're honestly like for how famous they are, super underrated, especially the early stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When they had to start going to like the poppier metal where they had to slow it down and stop being so technical is kind of what ruined it, but I still love them, respect them, but like their early shit was like holy fuck. And I think that people just they have that worry about what other people are going to think too much because of social media. I think that's what's killing the musician spirit is the popularity contest. It's constantly a popularity contest and not about music. And even like the platforms themselves battling each other does not help us.
Right.
Like with Facebook and YouTube not working together because of money or whatever. I don't know what the fucking situation is, but you now can't post a YouTube video and it plays. You know, you have to like post the video separately to Facebook if you want it to play when they're scrolling. So it's like, and then the other day I was working on one of our pages and it says that now they're changing the whole band aspect to a whole different thing that we're not going to be able to use what we have right now. So it's like, it's always changing on us. You have to adapt. There's no getting comfortable with a platform because they're always adapting. Like people got comfortable with Instagram and just doing posts, but reality, you need to be doing reels and stories and IGTV now. You know what I mean? Like now you have to do 4 things in one app alone. So you have to come up with all different content just for that. So now you're worried about coming up with video content and you're not worried about music.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to, in this day and age, whether or not you want to be content driven or if you want to be genuine to yourself and just hold out. And I think that that's a really tough decision because what are you supposed to do when you can't make fans other than try and reach out in different ways, right? So I love and hate social media so much because it's killed our attention span, it's killed our community, it's destroyed a lot of things but given us a lot of good things at the same time. Like, yeah, we're connected to the world everywhere, and I can like interview bands from Hungary just from meeting them on Facebook, you know what I mean? Or I can meet other bands. No, go ahead.
The whole concept of, you know, hashtags and trending and what the hell ever is, you know, as soon as something trends, well, then that's the thing that everybody tries to jump on.
Yep.
Which by very definition, you're now not going to be seen by that thing because it's what everyone just saturated it in. I don't know. It just feels so silly. It's like we, you know, both said earlier, I mean, all of these are just things that we've created. You know, they're all problems we recognize. They're all problems we're frustrated with, but they're all still problems that we continue to kind of fuel.
We're almost forced to at this point because it's from like 2010 on. You had to have a Facebook because MySpace died, and then from Facebook is you had to have an Instagram because that's where everybody's going. So it sucks that you always have to have that next thing. And I think if we realize, like, I don't know, I think eventually it'll come to a point where bands just like stop worrying about it. And I know a lot of bands that do. Like you, for example, you know, like you're not worried about your social media presence because realistically, that doesn't matter. It's once things open up again and you can start going out and performing, start marketing, start networking, is when things actually start happening. Because right now, it's even if you gain 10,000 followers over the past year, how many of those followers are genuinely going to be coming to your shows, or are they just like
Right.
liking your stuff on Facebook just because they got an invite? People don't have the attention span anymore that we used to, even for music. Like people want a 30-second song in a clip versus listening to a song. So I think in time we'll eventually get tired of having to worry about that popularity contest and just say fuck it and find something new when it comes. And I think that it will come. I think it needs to be made by us, for us. I think it needs to be like a global movement to like just say enough's enough. Like what would happen if every band and musician was to say enough's enough and we took all our music down from everywhere? No one had music anymore.
Well, then, yeah. I mean,
Could you imagine what would
yeah,
happen
and-
to the world?
but what's reserved then is the people that want it are still going to be the ones that get it, you know?
Yeah. Like I
And
think there was one of the bands was saying that they didn't even release their album yet, and it was already being streamed, or like it was stolen and being downloaded in Russia. And they're like, well, fuck it. You know, like if Russia wants to steal our music and put it out there for their people, then sweet, fucking like whatever, man. They must really like it. So it's sad that we live in this weird time as musicians, and it's a weird time. Like the whole world's weird, but no one sees it like we see it. I don't think. Like other people have like they've got like the front lines and they've got other things, but for us, it's like our entire life just stopped and then was like, all right, you can take the red pill or you can take the blue pill. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that it's going to be weird in the next 6 months to a year. I definitely think that it's going to be, we have to take things into our own hands as soon as things open up. Like it has to be just like, okay, go book a church and put on an all-ages show, because you're not going to be able to get into bars. They're not going to appeal to want to have live bands anymore. I don't think that I genuinely don't think bars are going to care as much for underground. They'll still hire cover bands and still bring in big bands because that sells drinks and that's what they care about.
Yeah, I mean, I at least know that's how it's going to be in this area, because that's how it was.
Yeah, I mean, you got very little amount of venues who are bars. You know what I mean? Like they have a bar, but they're not like they're a venue. Most places are a bar with a stage. So unfortunately, that's the appeal is to people who want to drink versus people who want to have music, because it's kind of an addition. Like we used to have a cool venue in Kelowna, and it was called the Warehouse, and it had, I'm pretty sure from my memory, it had 2 different stages, like a small stage and a bigger stage, and like you could have 2 different bands playing, and like it was just an open warehouse with stages, and you could rent it out. And I mean, like that's the kind of thing that, like, if somebody was to invest in that and be like, hey, you know what, I'm going to purchase this warehouse, we're going to turn it into a venue, and local bands can play here. Like they would rack in so much fucking money. Like I don't think people realize that if they were to just like focus on building a venue and not building a bar, because like you can always add a bar or something, you just need to get a liquor license, but like you can't, it sucks adding like a tiny little stage to a bar. You know, when you go to a show and the stage is like a 6-inch platform, like 5x8, and they're like, that's the stage, and you're like, dang, like you couldn't afford like an extra 2 feet.
Pull my ankle on this thing.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's weird because bars they're a dead scene. Like fuck bars. I have no ambition to ever go to a bar again. I don't even drink alcohol, so like I don't have any reason other than performing. And at this point in my life, I'm like, I'm done performing there because I don't need to hear Freebird again. I always get like joke about that. So it's just, I don't know. It's weird. Like I'd like to see change.
I mean, I'm from Texas, so yeah, that's what I grew up. It's like, you play guitar? Yeah. Can you play Freebird? No.
Right.
Oh, so you can't play guitar is what you're saying.
Can't play guitar. Motherfucker, check this out. Yeah. No, I hate that. It or like, metal doesn't take talent. Oh yeah. Okay. Like, and it does. It definitely does.
And I think just to kind of, circle back with Valkyrie AD and talking a lot about the horror, that's where really a lot of my focus is right now is trying to make, you know, the projects more of a like an all-encompassing experience, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, you know, looking at, you know, basically writing like a storyboard for each song. And, you know, for me, like my approach to songwriting, like from a lyrical standpoint, is basically trying to write a narrative. And then that narrative could essentially very easily just be turned to the pages of like a Tales from the Crypt or like a Vault of Horror comic book. So, you know,
Yeah.
like in my mind, perfect
It's more
world.
than music. It's
Yeah,
it's a project, like a whole thing. My
Right.
one of my buddies, Aaron Goodwin, he had a project called Circle of Stones, and it was one of the craziest things I've ever heard, and most like elaborate and creative fucking things I've ever heard. Where he created the story, and he like speaks it, and it's like this really creepy fucking, like, could be a horror story, basically, like what you're going after. And yeah, he made like these weird in between the chapters there were songs. So like you'd listen to the chapter of the story, and then there was a song that was like dedicated to that chapter, and then like it was like 12. Oh man, it was super unique. And I think that that creativity that we used to be able to have is not there. Like we can't do that anymore with it.
Yeah.
For the mass population. Like you can do that, and musicians will be like, man, you're a fucking genius, you know what I mean? But the like fucking Johnny Walker, you know, he's not gonna, like, the dude walking down the street's not gonna appreciate it, because it's not, I don't know what it is. People just like a basic repetitive beat now, and I don't understand it. Because
Well,
we went from loving symphonies to what we love now. You know what I mean? Like symphonies were crazy intricate.
Well, I mean, TikTok videos are what, like 30 seconds long, so they need something that's catchy enough to fit that format.
Yeah,
so
I know we need a metal app. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Just like an Instagram TikTok mix, but it's strictly for metal. So you like go and see the coolest, like fucking newest clip of a metal video. Oh, sweet, full length to the fucking music video. There we go.
Yeah.
I think that would be dope. Instead of having to worry about playing all these different fucking games, because each one has its own marketing scheme, and each one has its own algorithm, and you've got to learn them all and master them. And it's like, it takes the fun out of it. At the end of the day, you're just like, yeah, I don't really care to post. It sucks, but like,
yeah, I mean, that's kind of
who's gonna see it anyways at this point, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it definitely, I think we have to go back to like appealing to a younger market, a like legit just getting younger crowd back into music, because it needs to be rebooted, I think. And I think we need to put on our own shows and stop worrying about the competition to who's going to open up for the next biggest band. I think you got to make the bands want you, you know, stop worrying about fighting each other and just work together, because if one makes it, the others make it. And I think that people will eventually, I hope, start to appreciate music again for what it is, not just that it's catchy. Like the one thing I hate is when somebody like, oh, I love this song. Well, why do you love it? Oh, I love the beat.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking throw me off a cliff, please, right now. Because like, man, like you don't even like who sings it. Oh, I don't know. That shit drives me nuts. Like that underappreciation over like, or under loving of any artist. Maybe I'm just weird because I'm a total like music fan. You know, like I had a room that was covered in posters and pictures and bands, and like I was one of those kids. And I just don't understand people, like the people who don't, or like, I don't listen to music. I look at them like they're aliens. It's like people who don't drink coffee. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you a human? How do you not have coffee? How do you not listen to music? Or people who just don't care about music. Like, I think like, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't care about it. You know, it's weird to me. Like that is weird to me, because music is so powerful.
No, for sure. But I think, you know, part of that kind of, you know, what I was saying earlier, like it's very liberating for yourself as the artist when you kind of, when you can really kind of truly move away from that and not worry so much about it. You know, like for me, my personal favorite song or favorite part of every song I've ever written is the lyrics. And I know that like my mom is probably the only person that's read the lyrics to every song. But that doesn't diminish the fact that that's still my favorite part of the process, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I said, trying to move it into horror media. Like when I listen to the song or I play the song or whatever, I'm still picturing like the comic book kind of, you know, just that story book narrative kind of thing. And I know that that's what gets missed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of people are going to hear it. And like I said before, you know, the common person is going to listen to Valkyrie AD and say, well, I don't understand what you're saying. And then they're going to turn it off. And, you know, not to, I don't know. That's just on them. You know, that's it's their missed opportunity. I'm still happy with what I've done, and I'm going to keep doing what I plan on doing. You know, my next plan and endeavor is, you know, like I said, getting into videos. And even if only 4 people watch them, it's 4 more people that'll have watched it than if I didn't do it.
Yeah. And I think more people need to, I think you're on a different level. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I hope so.
With your understanding, like I definitely like talking to you and talking to a lot of other people, you have an understanding that you're ahead of it. Like you're definitely ahead a few years in the aspect of not caring about social media and just focusing on your music. Because that's what it really is all about. It's not about popularity. It's not about how many videos you have up. You know what I mean? Like it's about art. It's about creating that art. Like I would love to do another concept album because that's what I love doing. I love creating a story. So yeah, I don't think that there's limits to music. And I think people that understand that what people think really doesn't matter. There's always going to be people who hate you. There's 8 billion people on the planet. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Not everyone's going to like you. Like I said earlier, like just 1,000 dedicated fans. That's all you really need to live happy. And if you think of it that way, that's a small milestone. You know what I mean? To make. That's really easy compared to worrying about making 1 million. Starting with 1,000. Start with 100 dedicated fans that will spend $50 on your merch, on your songs, on tickets. You know what I mean?
Well, and 2, you know, it's going to be harder, progressively harder to find people the more you limit yourself in what you're doing. So if you, I mean, obviously for me, my goal is to have the song be a strong foundation. I want to write good music, but then I want to make a video or, you know, a book or whatever piece to kind of go along with it so that it just opens up the door for more people to get it. So, you know, for me, I get a lot of inspiration from like bands like Behemoth or Rammstein or Rob Zombie even, where, you know, they'll put out a song and then they play it live and then they put out a video. And those are all 3 very different experiences based off of one foundation. Yeah. And I think that speaks to the longevity of those artists. That's what projected them and was able to push them ahead, is they didn't say, here's a song I did and I'm done, and let's make a music video of us looking grumpy in an empty warehouse. Like, I mean, you could have done maybe a little more than that, right? Like, you know, you have to do things that best serves the music. Not
one of my favorite music videos is "Dig Up Her Bones" by Misfits. Like,
yeah,
so well done. You know what I mean? Like he's chilling in the graveyard, and it's like I think people just kind of like,
it's very campy. You know, it's very, you know, you can tell they're having a good time. Just like, you know,
and it's really low budget.
In and out of, right,
you know what I mean? It's awesome. Like I dig that. I think that people like, I think people will focus too much on, oh, it needs to be industry standard. Like the industry standard sucks. I'm sorry, but like a lot of the shit that they're doing is just repeated by people who did it 20 years ago. So they're not original. And it's really hard to be original nowadays because like everyone's thought of something. You know what I mean? So to come up with like an original music video is like, if you can do it, sweet. But I mean, reality, don't let that be the one thing that stops you from making, a music video, because why not, right? Like it's art. Put out art. Put out as much as you can. Just make sure you love it. Don't put it out because you think you need to. Right.
Yeah. It still needs to serve the song. It doesn't need to be, I made a video so I can say I have a video.
Yeah, so like we have a song called Sleep in Flames, and we're about to release a music video for it on Wednesday next week. And like I'm honest, it was what it is it's a ton of news clips throughout of 2020. Just things that like people may have forgot. You know what I mean?
Bummer.
Like and for me, there's then that I'm standing there in like a dark room with like lighting differently. So like there's a hidden message kind of in the video that I created, but without giving too much away. But like it's yeah, like I wanted to state a point. You know what I mean? It's not just like us playing in a bedroom or us playing. It's like you don't get to see the band. You barely even get to see my face. It's more like the point behind the lyrics is being projected by the images you see. So like I tried to, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like yeah, it's been done before, but the way I did it, it was, I wanted to make people think. Like yeah, we've had a year of lockdown and pandemic, but like we've also had a year of crazy revolution. Like there's been worldwide global revolution happening for an entire year. And I don't think that like it's been overlooked. Like even the Beirut explosion was overlooked after a day of it, the day after. And like those kind of things like really bug me that it got overlooked. So I kind of I wanted to make a statement. And I don't care if people don't like it. Like I already had one guy react at me and say it was dumb, and I'm like, that's cool, dude. Good on you. Like, let's see what you do. You know what I mean? Like usually the people who make fun of you and troll you aren't people who are artists. They're not creating themselves, because those kind of people will support you. Trolls, I find, are the ones that don't do anything. You know what I mean? Like they don't have a hobby. Their hobby is picking on people.
Yeah, their hobby is being really good at talking the loudest.
Yeah, and I used to let that bug me so much. Like you put a video on YouTube and you see the negative comments and you feed into it. You know what I mean? Like I think everyone's guilty to it at some point. Now I just look at it and laugh. I'm like, man, it probably took you longer to write that comment than it does for me to delete it. Like I think I have the power to delete it. I don't really need to leave it there. So I don't care about haters. You know, haters mean you're doing something good. So there's always going to be people who don't like your music and do like your music. And I think that shouldn't stop you. And I think that that's definitely what I loved about your music is like, there's no limits. You know what I mean? Like you're one dude putting out this epic fucking music by yourself. And you're like it, you like it. If you don't, that's okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, yeah, the important thing is that I still like it.
And that's what I think. That's why, I mean, you're ahead by years. Like you're ahead of everyone else, where people are still focused on the popularity contest. You're like, you know what? I'm true to myself. I know who I am. You that will last in the long run. You'll find genuine musicians who want to work with you versus just kind of finding people who will want to play. Like you'll find people who you work with that are like-minded if you stay true to it, which I think is I think will happen. Like I think your music is super fucking good. And like yeah, I definitely think that you have what it takes to get out there, and you're super fucking humble and chill. Like, I don't know, you're next level compared to most people, and it's cool to see as a solo artist to a solo artist, a former solo artist. So it's nice to see that there's still artists out there who aren't scared. I guess you know what I mean. Like they're not scared to put out art despite what people are gonna say or think. And I think more people need to be like that.
Well, hey, thanks, man. That's good.
No worries, dude. It's true though. Like I think more people need to like hear what you have to say and kind of take from your book in chapters and just be like, you know what? Like I think that's where it starts, is that mentality where we stop worrying about what people think and just go back to putting out music that we love. And I think that will attract the people who love the music.
Yeah.
And in the long run, that's all you really can ask for.
Yeah, no, I really do think that. I think, you know, the rest is going to follow as soon as it catches up. And, you know, like I said, I mean, yeah, I guess my message to everyone is listen to Valkyrie AD. And if you dig it, cool. If you don't, I still want to hear from you. I still want to hear what your band's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'd be cool to network, because I feel like when shit does normalize, I still want to play a show with you, you know, without having heard you or met you. Like
Yeah, I think that
there's no
needs,
reason why we
yeah.
shouldn't.
for sure. I definitely think that more bands need to just be more willing to play with each other and stop worrying about that competition, I guess, so to say. Because like I know I've done some shows where the other band is like sitting outside by their vehicle while we perform because they're not going to stand in the crowd with the other people. And then you have sometimes where you got the bands right up front. You know what I mean? Like it really just depends on the people. And I think the ones that are genuine attracted genuine people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bands are kind of like that. Like musicians are very tight knit, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, for me, you know, I kind of have this mentality that no matter what room I walk into anywhere on the planet, I'm not going to be the smartest person in that room. There's going to be something I can learn from every person there. And, you know, for me as an artist, as someone who wants to create, you know, I'm willing to learn as much as I can from other people within the network.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap up there?
There are 2 quick plugs I'd like to make, if that's cool.
Yeah, of course, dude.
So I mentioned the guy that I had worked with for the mixing and mastering of the first 2 projects. His name's Dwayne Williamson. He did live here in New York. He's since relocated to the Pacific Northwest. He lives in Oregon now, but he also has his own little solo project. It's called Beast Mountain, and the album is Cryptozoology. It's a bit more like stoner, kind of doomier than my stuff.
That's up my alley.
Yeah, it's a total like, you know, cosmic horror concept album, but I mean it's a complete banger of an album, you know. But you know, everything that I've learned as far as the actual recording process, like I 100% owe it to that guy. And then number 2, there is a fitness clothing website out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania called Death Comes Lifting. And they are heavily, it's just one guy, his name's Zach. He's heavily influenced by horror and heavy music. So like all the clothings are all, you know, themed by like, you know, Black Sabbath or Black Flag kind of stuff like that. And then
cool.
All of his free workout plans are all horror themed, but he also he does like underground death metal reviews. And, you know, after I put out Tales from the Wicked, he was the first guy that, you know, gave me a chance and listened to the stuff and did a review. You know, he was the first person that was willing to put me on his platform. So, you know, I feel like every bit of success in that regard, I owe to him, you know, because he's also been the one that's, you know, been periodically checking up on me, you know, hey, when's the next release going to come out? I mean, he's even working on trying to get like a distro service going so that maybe we can get some Valkyrie AD cassettes out in the world, because cassettes are kind of the thing right now. But
it's true. It's funny how it's going back. Like that's why I'm like, I hope the industry kind of goes back to like what it was in the late 80s, early 70s, 90s era. You know what I mean? Where CDs and that kind of shit comes out, because I mean, yeah, we're definitely at like a retro stage right now where people dress and like, it always circles back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
With new technology is all. Like they'll remake a Walkman soon. Apple will make a Walkman.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like
yeah, we'll go back to the iPod Classic before too long.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely think that that's cool that, you know, that he wants to set that up and help, because I think that that's what we need more of. Yeah, is just people being willing to do what it takes. Like just have that, you know what, I see it in them, I'll help them as much as I can kind of thing. Yeah. Because people can only do so much, and that's all you can really ask for. But I mean, in the long run, any bit of help is so grateful. Like you're so grateful for it in the end, in the long run, that I think that people see that. Yeah. Yeah. And he has a Patreon, and I do like a weekly, like different horror media reviews. I write some stuff for him. And so like, you know, he and I, from the very beginning of when we first met, just, you know, been giving back and forth. So like I said, I just owe so much to that guy. So I guess my message to the viewer is, as soon as you're done with this, check out Beast Mountain and the album Cryptozoology, and then check out Death Comes Lifting.
and then listen to Valkyrie AD.
You have to do it in such order too.
Yeah, in that order.
I'm gonna check out cryptozoology for sure because I'm a total cryptid head, man. Like I love the concept of like even the name of the company, Enigma. You know what I mean? Like metal's an enigma, but I fucking love aliens. I love Bigfoot. I love that kind of shit. So I'm interested to hear an album with the name cryptozoology.
It's very like HP Lovecrafty kind of.
Right, I'm alley. I bet my guitar player Jake will love it because he's really into doom and like thrash and he loves HP. So I think that would be. I might even just probably link him it and be like, "Yo, tell me what you think."
No, for sure. Yeah, like I said, it's a total banger of an album, and yeah, it deserves just infinite number of more plays. So
right, I think everybody. There's so many bands out there right now that need that. And like, there's so much talented music out there. That's just like, and I feel like a lot of people hide their music too now, which is kind of sad. You know
I mean, it took, I don't know how long for the first Valkyrie AD thing to happen because, you know, I was worried that there's too much stigma behind being one guy that it would never work. And then, you know, like I said, it's like, I'm not going to wait anymore. Like, I'm not going to let it just be an idea. And this was kind of, you know, I have the second guitarist now that, you know, like I said, we're trying to collaborate, and then
right,
you know,
as soon as things open up, eventually a bassist will roll around, and drummer's always the hardest. But I mean, realistically, there's so many drummers out there. This is hard to find one who's there's people who play drums and there's drummers, and that's one thing it took me years to realize.
That's very true.
Just like there's people who play guitar and there's guitar players. Like you definitely have to find somebody who's dedicated, and it takes it like they practice and stuff. Because I know I've had drummers that don't even like touch their drum kit between band practices, and I'm like, the hell, dude. So no, I think that you'll find a band in no time, as soon as it starts getting out there. And yeah, I genuinely do. Like you're in such a good area too for bands. Like the metal scene there in New York is pretty fucking badass. Yeah. So,
yeah, I'm just a few hours from some pretty major cities. I mean, even to get down to Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, or
right.
You know, there's definitely a pretty good centralized location, and I'm willing to make a day trip out of it if it means doing something.
Yeah. No, for sure. I definitely think that like after COVID, things will open up for you and everybody else. But I definitely think that right now, because you're solo, it's more difficult, but also that you have more free range right now because there's that independence. So I think it'll be cool to see. Like I'm excited to hear what you and the other guitar player do, because that'll be cool to hear a whole different mind added to that blend of already elusive and like, you know, like creative melodies that you have. So it'll be cool because there is a lot of like, you definitely feel that horror element. So it'll be cool to see somebody else with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm excited, and he's a lot more into some of the thrashy technical stuff too. So, because I mean, my plan has always been to just be a rhythm player, and I feel like that shows in my quote unquote solos. You know, I'm still just playing a riff just higher up the fretboard. Like I'm not into sweeping and tapping and all that garbage. So
yeah, I'm not a theory based guitar player. Like I took my theory with drumming and my rudiments and learned everyone, but guitar was always feel. Like I was like, I can never teach myself guitar. I can never have somebody teach me because it was based on feel. So I mean, like, yeah, it takes me a while to write a solo, and I have to memorize it and fuck up a million times. So I totally get it. I'm a rhythm guitar player for sure. Yeah. I'm no shred god. As much as I try to learn lead, I can do it a little bit, but it's just for my fun. You know what I mean? I'm not ever going to be a lead guitar player in a band.
Yeah. And too many people now, you know, their approach to writing a solo is just to see how many notes they can put into the least amount of bars of music. It's like, that's not a solo.
Yeah. Writing a solo is a really hard thing. Like I've written solos that are well written and it takes a lot of time, but it's writing a song inside a song. It's not just hitting as fast as it's not Carrie King where you're just smashing fucking notes. You know what I mean? Like,
ruins every Slayer song ever.
Thank you. Like, as long as I'm not the only person who thinks that, because I can't stand that. It's just like you hear it and all of a sudden it's like it's like, yeah, I get that you can play fast, but man, like
Right.
stoking a 5-year-old.
Yeah. If it's
not
that.
skill. So yeah, no, for sure. Definitely let us know when you go to drop this new project, because we'll have you back on, and hopefully we'll get your other guitar player in too.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm hoping for, mid-spring or so, and then I already have the next 3 songs that are complete and ready to lined up to go, and maybe he and I can hopefully put together 2 to 3 more. Try to have a little bit more of that collaboration on the next one, and try to, I don't know. I kind of like micro releases, so to speak, instead of doing like a 9 or a 10 song release every 2 years. I kind of dig doing 4 songs every 6 months.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's the market now. That's what we're gonna have to lean towards. That or singles every month, and like ride the single as long as you can. It sucks, but I mean, hopefully that changes again. Hopefully people are like, I hopefully like the Pink Floyd lovers, you know what I mean? Like the young generation of Pink Floyd lovers are like, we need albums. Where's our albums? So
yeah,
I think it'll come back. I think, like, especially with the amount of vinyl that's being made again, like that whole
for sure. That's
appreciation.
Right. That's something you experience.
Yeah.
Start to finish.
Mm-hmm. So I definitely think like there are that crowd. It's just trying to find them is hard in such a huge world. Trying to find the crowd and to get their attention is really hard too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, for sure. All right, bro. Well, it was good talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. I mean, thank you.
No worries, dude.
To you specifically, and to Enigma as a whole. I think it's great what you guys are doing. And like you said, to come back on, I think it'd be awesome for me to come back on and talk again. But
anytime, dude. I definitely. We're setting up an episode. I want to set up an episode with a bunch of different musicians and kind of have like a big chat, and kind of have like a bunch of different minds working together to come up with ideas for just like the industry and what's wrong with it, kind of a thing. I don't know. I'm working on it slowly, but I'll have you on that one for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And also, it would also be just as cool for you to be too busy to ever get back to me, because that's obviously what we need. So
no, bro, you'll definitely hear from me for sure.
Sweet. Awesome, man.
All right, dude, you stay safe.
Thanks, you too.
All right, bro.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little dicky bell, because you don't want to miss out on any of the motherfucking shit we drop in. Right, Norman?
Absolutely, Rob.